Hi, I'm Miss Sarah, and this is At Home Makerspace, where every week I show you how to make fun projects with things you can find at home. For our first video during the month of March, I thought it would be fun to do something book-themed. That's because March is Community Read Month at our library, where we encourage members of our community to read and discuss specific books. If you'd like to learn more about Community Read or its companion, Youth Read, be sure to check out the links in the description. Now, in this video, I'll be sharing some behind-the-scenes information about how to make your own book talk video. A book talk video is a short video in which you recommend a book and try to convince other people that they should read it. Let's see how it's done. The first thing you'll need to do when making a book talk video is decide which book you'd like to recommend. You should recommend books that you've read before, so if there's a book you think you might want to recommend, make sure to read it first. A good book for a book talk might be a book that you couldn't put down, a book that made you laugh or cry, a book with characters you admired, a book with a setting you'd love to visit, or a book that taught you something. The book I've chosen for my book talk video is Stacey McAnulty's The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. This is a book that made me both laugh and cry, so I think it would be a good choice for a book talk video. Once you've picked out your book, you can begin to write your script. Now, you can write your script on a computer or write it out by hand, but I do recommend having the book nearby as you write your script. Your book talk video will be made up of 5 parts. The first part will be your introduction, where you introduce yourself to your audience. Here's an example of an introduction. Hi, Miss Sarah here. And today I'll be recommending a middle grade novel. The second part of your book talk will be the hook. The hook is something so interesting that it grabs your audience and makes them want to keep listening. There are lots of different ways to do a hook, so here are a few examples. You could start by sharing a fun fact from the book. Have you ever heard of acquired savant syndrome? It's a condition that happens after a brain injury when someone develops amazing skills, usually in art, music, or mathematics. You could try to connect the book to something the readers might have experienced. Have any of you ever started at a new school? Do you remember what your first day was like? When you walk into a brand new building and you don't know anyone? You could encourage readers to imagine they're in your story. Imagine being struck by lightning. Now imagine that that has given you a special skill. No, I'm not talking about a superpower. I'm talking about the power to solve any math problem. You could try tying your book into another popular book, movie, or game. Do you enjoy superhero comics or movies? How about ones where the hero gets his or her power after being struck by lightning, like The Flash or Shazam? And finally, you can hook your readers by introducing them to a great character. I want to introduce you to an amazing character. Her name is Lucy Callaghan, and she can solve any mathematical problem in her head. But Lucy wasn't always able to do that. She got that power after being struck by lightning and becoming Lightning Girl. And remember, you can always mix and match a few of these options. Here is my final hook, and see if you can spot a few of the different ones I mixed together. Imagine you've been struck by lightning. Now imagine that being struck by lightning has given you a special skill. No, I'm not talking about a superpower. I'm talking about acquired savant syndrome. This is a rare condition that happens after a brain injury when someone develops an amazing ability, usually in art, music, or mathematics. This is exactly what happens to Lucy in Stacey McAnulty's The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. As you saw, I like to end my hook by revealing the book I'm talking about. Make sure to include the book's title and author and the illustrator if your book has one. In part 3 of your book talk, you'll want to tell us what your book is about. Make sure to introduce us to your main character and tell us about the problem or challenge that your main character faces. But don't tell us the ending of the story. Here's my example. After being struck by lightning, Lucy, also known as Lightning Girl, develops amazing mathematical abilities. Even though she's only 12, she's smart enough to go to college. But before her grandmother will let her go, she has a challenge for Lucy. Lucy must spend 1 year in a public middle school, make 1 friend, join 1 activity, and read 1 book that isn't a math textbook, which is how Lucy ends up spending 7th grade at East Hamlin Middle School. Along the way, she makes some unexpected friends, including a 4-legged friend at a local animal shelter. For part 4 of your book talk, you'll want to leave your audience on a cliffhanger. This way, your audience is interested in reading the book to find out what will happen next. Here's my example. Will Lucy be able to complete her grandmother's challenge? You'll have to read the book to find out. And finally, the last part, part 5 of our book talk video, is a quick close. This is just your opportunity to say goodbye to your audience. Hope you enjoy. Bye! And one last hint about scripts. After I've written my script, I'll use Post-it notes to write down the most important points. They might look something like this. Then I will put these sticky notes on my computer right near the camera so I can quickly glance at them while I'm recording. With your script done, it's time to think about filming. One of the first things you'll need to decide is where you'll be filming. There are a few different types of backgrounds that might work well for a book talk video. One option would be a solid color background, like a white or colored wall. Hi, Miss Sarah here. You could also choose a thematically appropriate background, like bookshelves, but be careful that your bookshelves aren't too busy and distracting behind you. Hi, Miss Sarah here. Now, be honest. How many of you are trying to see what books I had on my bookshelf? Since bookshelves can be a bit distracting, I've decided to film my book talk videos on my couch because, as you saw earlier, it's a spot where I do a lot of my reading and it seemed like a really cozy spot to recommend books to you. Hi, Miss Sarah here. Once you've decided where you'll be filming, you'll want to set up your camera and microphone. I use the camera and microphone on my computer, and in order to make my computer a little bit taller, I set it on top of a box. This brings the camera closer to eye level. With your camera on, you'll then want to set up your lighting. So as you might be able to see, when I have my lamps on, we're getting some bright light right around the edges, which causes me in the middle to look a little bit darker. So here's the fix. First, I'm going to turn off the lamps behind me. Next, I have a small lamp I'm going to turn on and place next to the camera So I get some nice kind of natural glowing light coming from this side. And finally, here's a special trick that I learned that helps me when I'm filming. When I get ready to start recording, I use a program called QuickTime, and a little trick I have for helping me know where to look is to make my screen small. So normally the screen is much larger, but I like to make it as small as possible and move it as close to the top of my screen as possible and centered right below my camera. So right now I'm looking into my own eyes on the screen and it looks like I'm looking at the camera. But let's see what happens if I move it down. So now if I try to look in my own eyes, you can see I look like I'm looking down. And same things if I move it to one side or the other. It looks like I'm not really looking on camera or in the camera. So my trick is to have it right there below the camera, as small as possible so that my eyes are as close to the camera as possible. And that's my trick for how to look like you're looking in the camera. Now you are ready to film. And don't worry if it takes you a few times to get it right. I actually find it really helpful to break up my filming into smaller chunks rather than trying to get it all in one take. Hi, Miss Sarah here, and today I'll be recommending a middle grade novel. When you're finished filming, it's time to start editing. Now, editing is when you take all the clips you filmed, put them together in the right order, then trim out anything you don't want and add any extras you do want. To edit your videos, you'll need some sort of video editing software. I use iMovie because it's the video editing software that came with my MacBook. I really like iMovie and would recommend it, but it is only available for Apple products. If you're looking for a couple of other recommendations, our library also uses a cloud-based video editing software called WeVideo. And if you're looking for a free option, one of my former volunteers recommends Videoshop, which is a free app for Apple and Android smartphones. Now, I won't go into too much depth with how I edit because every video editing software is a little different. However, I thought I would show you some of the kinds of edits that you could make. One of your first steps when editing is putting all of your clips in the right order and trimming out any extra bits you don't need, like bloopers or additional takes you decide not to use. You can then add transitions between your clips. One of my favorite is this page turning transition. This is how it looks. Next, you could add a title or some additional text. You might want to have a background where you can place your text, and then you can add your text on top of the background, or you can even add it on top of existing video. You could choose to add graphics or videos. For example, you could add a graphic of your book cover, or you could add some graphics or videos that help to tell your story visually. Just make sure that you get these graphics or videos from copyright-free websites. I'll include links to some websites in the description. Another option would be creating your own graphics. I like to use a web-based graphic design program called Canva, and I'll include a link to that in the description as well. Finally, you might also choose to add music and sound effects. Now, I get my sound effects from my iMovie library, but you can also find free music and sound effects online, and I'll include some links in the description. Once you've finished editing your video, you might choose to upload it. There are lots of different platforms where you could upload a video, like YouTube or Google Drive, or maybe you even have a classroom account where you can share videos. I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but I did want to quickly show you how I upload things to YouTube. Starting on my YouTube channel page, I will click Create and then Upload Video. I can then select the video from my computer and begin uploading. While it's uploading, you can add information about your video, and one thing I wanted to note here was the privacy settings. So I usually set my personal videos to unlisted, meaning only someone who has a link to my video can watch it. Our library videos, on the other hand, are public, meaning anyone can watch them. And remember, if you're planning to post your book talk video somewhere public, be sure to get permission from your parent or guardian before you upload. Hi, Miss Sarah here, and today I'll be recommending a middle grade novel. Imagine you've been struck by lightning. Now imagine that being struck by lightning has given you a special skill. No, I'm not talking about a superpower. I'm talking about acquired savant syndrome. This is a rare condition that happens after a brain injury when someone develops an amazing ability, usually in art, music, or mathematics. This is exactly what happens to Lucy in Stacey McAnulty's The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. After being struck by lightning, Lucy, also known as Lightning Girl, develops amazing mathematical abilities. Even though she's only 12, she's smart enough to go to college. But before her grandmother will let her go, she has a challenge for Lucy. Lucy must spend 1 year in a public middle school, make 1 friend, join 1 activity, and read 1 book that isn't a math textbook. Which is how Lucy ends up spending 7th grade at East Hamlin Middle School. Along the way, she makes some unexpected friends, including a 4-legged friend at a local animal shelter. Will Lucy be able to complete her grandmother's challenge? You'll have to read the book to find out. Hope you enjoy. Bye! We hope you enjoyed learning how to make your own book talk videos. If you want to see some of the library's book talk videos, including some of mine, be sure to check out the link in the description. If you make your own book talk video, we'd love to see it, so please share it with us at the library. You can do so through our Facebook at www.facebook.com/FHCPL, through our Instagram. Our handle is @FHCPL, or you can send us an email. Our email address is makerspace@finleylibrary.org. I'm really excited to see what books you guys will book talk, and I hope you'll join me again soon for another Makerspace video. See you then. Bye!